Hello, my name is Kavithan Lagovan. My metric number is BB22110499. Okay, good afternoon to all. Today I'll explain why First Bank's refusal to honor payment under the letter of credit issued to Capital Machinery is justified under the principle of strict compliance as established in international trade law and UCP 600. I'll use the IRAC framework issue, rule, application, and conclusion to structure the analysis. Okay, the issue here is whether the documents presented by Capital Machinery Ltd comply strictly with the terms of the letters of credit issued by First Bank. Specifically, we will examine three discrepancies. The first, the certificate of conformity was issued by an unauthorized agency. The insurance certificate only covered 90% of the goods value instead of the required 100%. The documents were presented late beyond the 15-day limit after shipment. Under the principle of strict compliance, any deviation, no matter how minor, is grounds for rejection. Okay. Secondly, the rule. The rule governing this situation is derived from UCP 600, the Uniform Customs of Practice for Documentary Credits and related case law. Under UCP 600, banks are bounded by the principle of strict compliance, which requires document presented to match the terms of the letter of credit exactly. In Equitable Trust Co. of New York versus Dawson Partners Ltd. in 1927, the court upheld that even minor deviation could lead to rejection. Similarly, Bank Milli Iran versus Barclays Bank 1951 reaffirmed that discrepancies, even seemingly minor ones, are material if they deviate from the letter of credit terms. For the application, let's apply these principles to the facts. First discrepancy, unauthorized inspection agency. The letter of credit specifically required the certificate of conformity to be issued by Plant Inspection Services Australia, PISA. However, Capital Machinery Ltd presented the certificate from another agency. This is a material breach because the choice of the inspection agency was explicitly stated in the letter of credit. As seen in Equitable Trust Co. versus Dawson Partner Ltd, strict compliance means even a small variation cannot be overlooked. Second discrepancy, insurance coverage. The letter of credit require 100% insurance coverage, but certificate only cover 90%. In Mountrot Ltd versus Grunkotter, Fleich Chivtrips GmbH in 2001, the court upheld that insufficient insurance coverage constitute material non-compliance. The 10% gap exposes First Bank to significant financial risk, justifying rejection. For the third discrepancy, late presentation of document. The letter of credit require documents to be presented within 15 days of shipment. Yet they were presented 25 days later on 15 December 2024 after a 20 November 2024 shipment. For example, in Giant Singh and Co. Ltd versus BankQ Indochine in 1974, the court ruled that failure to meet time limits invalidates the bank's obligation to honor payment. Here, the late submission is clear of the validity period. Conclusion. In conclusion, under the principle of strict compliance and UCP 600, First Bank's refusal to honor the payment is justified. The discrepancies in inspection agency insurance coverage and timing of document presentation were material breaches of the letter of credit terms. As supported by precedent, these non-conformities invalidate the bank's obligation to pay. Thank you for your attention. I am applied to take any question.
Hello, I'm Devan. Today we are addressing a critical issue concerning the potential liability of Capital Machinery Limited for negligence in clearing goods for export under FOB terms and the subsequent delays that may have led to a breach of contract. Under FOB, which is free on board arrangement, the seller bears significant responsibilities. As outlined in Code Terms 2020, Capital Machinery Limited was obligated to ensure that the goods were cleared for export in compliance with all regulatory requirements, loaded into vessel nominated by the buyer within the agreed time frame, and that all necessary shipping documents were provided to facilitate a smooth transaction. Relevant case law provides guidance on how FOB contracts are interpreted and enforced. In Pyran Co. Limited versus Snedia Navigation Co. Limited, 1954, it was established that a seller's failure to appropriately load and clear goods could result in a claim for damages. Similarly, in Biddle Brothers versus E. Clement Horse Co. 1911, the court emphasized the necessity of fulfilling all contractual conditions, including timely delivery and documentation. In the current case, Jaya Construction Sindhyanabad argues that Capital Machinery Limited failed to clear the goods for export in a timely manner, leading to port delays and ultimately resulting in late shipment. If it is proven that Capital Machinery Limited did not complete the export clearance process on time and this contributed to the delay, they could be held in breach of the FOB contract. However, it is important to consider that the possibility of external factors beyond the seller control. If Capital Machinery Limited can demonstrate that they have fulfilled all their obligations and that the delays were due to port congestion, unforeseen customs procedures, or other uncontrollable circumstances, they may not have liable. So, another crucial aspect of this case pertains to the timing of the shipment and the presentation of documents. Although the goods were shipped within the agreed time frame of November, the shipping documents were presented on December 15, which could potentially conflict with the letter of credit terms requiring presentation within 15 days after shipment. This raises concerns regarding compliance with financial requirements and whether the late documentation could constitute a breach. In conclusion, the determination of liability rests on whether Capital Machinery Limited can provide sufficient evidence that they met all their contractual obligations. If they fail to clear the goods for export in a timely manner, they may indeed be in breach of contract. So conversely, if they can prove that all formalities were completed as required and that the delays were beyond the control, JR Construction's claims may not be substantiated.
Hi everyone, today I will be discussing issue 3 from our group assignment, which focused on the refusal to accept goods and honor the letter of credit LC. We will analyze whether the document errors were serious enough for First Bank to reject the LC and for Jaya Construction to refuse delivery. This analysis will be structured using the IRAC or IRAC method, issue, rule, analysis and conclusion. So, for the issue, the central issue here is whether the errors in the documents tendered by Capital Machinery under the LC were significant enough to justify the refusal of First Bank to honor the LC and the refusal of Jaya Construction to accept delivery of the goods. For rule, the rules governing this issue are derived from two main sources: the Uniform Customs and Practice for Documentary Credit UCP 600 and the Uniform Commercial Code UCC. For UCP 600, this set of rules requires strict compliance for LC documents. The issuing bank is obligated to make payments against the LC provided the presented documents conform precisely to the conditions specified in the LC. But for the UCC, under the UCC, buyers have the right to reject goods that do not meet the contract terms. This means that if the LC is not honored due to document discrepancy, the buyer is justified in refusing the goods. So let's take this presentation to the analysis part. Okay, let's break down to the analysis into three perspectives. First, Bank, Jaya Construction, and Capital Machinery Ltd. So for the first bank, under UCP 600, First Bank is justified in rejecting the LC due to document discrepancies. The principle of strict compliance mandates that the documents must exactly match the terms of the LC. Even minor errors can lead to rejection if they make the documents non-conforming. In this case, the discrepancies in the documents presented by Capital Machinery Ltd were significant enough for First Bank to refuse payment. For Jaya Construction, according to the UCC, Jaya Construction's refusal to accept the goods is valid since the LC was unpaid. The UCC allows buyers to reject goods that do not conform to the contract specifications. Since the LC was not honored due to document discrepancy, Jaya Construction was within its right to refuse delivery of the goods. And for Capital Machinery Ltd, although Capital Machinery Ltd viewed the errors as minor, they breached the strict compliance required under UCP 600. The discrepancies, such as the use of an unauthorized inspection agency and inadequate insurance coverage, were material and justified the rejections by both First Bank and Jaya Construction. So, in conclusion, the rejections by both First Bank and Jaya Construction were valid. The principle of strict compliance under UCP 600 is crucial in LC transactions to ensure certainty and predictability in international trade. Both the bank and the buyer must adhere strictly to the terms of the LC to avoid disputes and ensure smooth global trade. So this case highlights the importance of meticulous attention to detail in international trade documentation to prevent such issues. Thank you for your attention.